Hey, Erin.
Hey there, how are you?
Good. Is this your home?
It is my home.
Okay, so where is home right now? Because you're a New Yorker, but I know you're residing in LA, right?
No, I'm in Jersey, like right outside the city.
Okay, all right. So not a bad commute. I mean,
No.
I don't know how the commute is on the East Coast. I know in San Francisco, which you'll be coming, traffic is just terrible. I did hear that you used to intern and work for CNN. I work for ABC News.
Okay. Yes, those news days.
So I usually like to ask a guest, if you guys could come up with any news headline, what would it be?
I mean, world peace achieved would be great, but free sausage pizza, I don't know. So many things that I would enjoy. I'm not gonna say which one would be one and which one would be two, but
I think free pizza would just bring world peace.
that might work. Yes.
Or at least comedy. So, I mentioned earlier about how Bay Area traffic is pretty bad, and I work evening shifts at the news station, and so I'm getting off at like 11:35, and there shouldn't be any traffic. But they closed the bridge, like the ramp, and then you had to
Uh-huh.
go around, and I'm already like getting heated, like road rage is about to kick in. So I listened to Grudgery, and it calmed me
Oh, I
down.
love that. I love that. You
So
listened to Grudgery and it calmed you down. That's
it did.
amazing. You listened to me ranting and it made you feel better. And that's all, I think you're my kind of person,
Oh,
Giselle.
absolutely. Because I found you on Instagram, and when you were talking about like negative energy, I was like, wait, I'm a negative person, and I gloat about
I don't think grudge holding is bad. Like people always want to tell you like to let stuff go. And I'm like, why would I? Like my grudges energize me. Like sometimes like when I'm no, I'm serious. Like sometimes I'm laying in the bed and like an alarm will go off like that. And I'll be like, okay, it's time to do the day. And I don't feel like it. And then it's just like, oh, but look, it's a whole new 24 hours where I can hate Jessica. You know what I mean? Like it's just
yeah.
another reason to get up out of bed in the morning. And sometimes, you need a grudge to put a battery in your bag.
Well, this is my excuse, my validation. Crows, they're known to hold grudges. Like I saw
Yes.
like a study, like oddly specific, 17 years they hold grudges.
17 years. And I read the same article because not only do they hold grudges to the point where they will attack and swarm on people who look like the people that
Yeah.
they hold the grudges against, even if it's not the same person. So they know enough to go, it was a blonde lady around this area, and they have swooped on like the wrong blonde lady. Like
Yeah.
they're the best.
Yeah, yeah. And then they tell their crow family, like, we don't like this, Jessica.
I love that story. Now that I've become a little bit known for the grudge holding, people send me like articles about animals. Chimpanzees also are very good grudge holders. I've learned. Yeah, I love those stories.
What do you do to de-stress? Is like holding grudges is that a factor to de-stress?
No, I mean it's not a full-time job yet. To de-stress, I'm old school. I love a glass of whiskey, some slow jams and just chilling out, at the house. Look how comfy. It's comfy in here. So that's kind of my thing. I'm pretty easy. If I love to read, like you're saying you're leaving work at like late at night. I'm going to work and leaving late at night, so it's just kind of like during the day I chill.
Right? We're absolute night owls. And I mean, you're gonna be doing comedy at the Punchline in San Francisco. I believe
Right.
you're starting Wednesday, a couple of days, different evening times. You know how they have like comedians, like they kind of like walk to their music. Can you reveal what that music will be?
Oh man, it's gonna be something upbeat.
Okay.
I tend to pick something like a Jay-Z or like an old school hip hop. Half the audience has never even heard, but it's for me. So.
Hey, I know who New Edition is because of my mom.
Thank goodness that you had good parenting because that almost broke my spirit. You guys don't know why she's saying that to me, but why she's saying it is because at the club I work the most in New York City at the Comedy Cellar, they have a live band. At then they kind of like on stage with you, like the keyboardist is on stage with you. They bring you up to actual music. And the keyboardist one night brought me on. Oh, he saw that I had a New Edition shirt on. And then so he brought me up to a new edition song, Candy Girl. And so I started dancing like New Edition. And I asked somebody in the crowd, do you know who the people on the shirt were? And nobody knew. A club full of people. And I didn't even think they deserved my jokes after that. I was like, nobody in here has good musical taste. Nobody's parents turn them on to good music. Like, you don't deserve me. But I had already eaten the free chicken, so I had to tell the joke. I don't like feeling old, but I'm glad. And the fact that you said your mom turned you on, now that still makes me feel old because they were my.
What can you share? I know let's not spoil it too much, but like any themes that we'll be hearing at the punchline and during your set.
Sure. I mean, I'm gonna talk about, I love to talk about things that like we all experience. I'll definitely talk about dating and I'll talk about my parents, definitely aging parents and that kind of thing. Silly experiences that I've had. One thing I found is that people who come to comedy shows, they will often say, like, oh my goodness, the stuff that happens to you is so crazy. And I'm like, it really isn't. It's just that I'm writing it all down. Like you have stories too, and I'm sure just so you probably just tell them to your friends or your family. You're just telling them to the people in your life. And I am now aggregating all the stories. But, the commonality of comedy is why people like it. They go, oh my God, that happened to me too. Or I thought that too. So I'm just going to be telling everyday stories just from my perspective and trying to bring everybody kind of into the story.
I think that's why I felt de-stressed listening to Gregory because it was so relatable, especially when you talked about you went on that date with the guy and he pissed in the alleyway. I've been there. I had
Have
a
you?
former, and I think she tried to set me up with her brother, and I don't even count it as a date. We just hung out, and we just left a concert, and he's like, I gotta take a leak. I was like, are you serious? Like the next door to the alleyway, like we're not even at BART yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after I paid for dinner.
It made no sense because the guy's like, "Oh, I'm such a gentleman. I'll make sure you don't get hit by a car." But like, but can you pay for this?
I'm like, we could also go back to the restaurant and you could go to the bathroom. Like, there's no need. We're still on the block. Like, you could go inside. I hate everybody. Graduate. Graduate.
So when this happens, like, are you at the moment like jotting it down? Because I know comedians that they kind of do that, like, oh wait, this would be a good story or a good joke. Because even musicians, and I tend to interview more musicians. I'm kind of branching out to comedians, but sometimes when they have like a melody or a lyric, they're like, I gotta write this down before I forget. Is that the same for comedians?
I think it is for a lot of comedians. Absolutely. I don't tend to do that. I mean, it's stuff like that I'm not going to forget. And I'm not great at that. Honestly, there's so many I have forgotten so many jokes because I never wrote them down. And then I'll listen back to something. I'm like, oh man, that was really funny. Why didn't I say that anymore? Because I'm not attentive in that way. But I'll remember it for the most part if it's really funny, or it'll come back. But yeah, when you're thinking of things, you're like, what am I going to write about or a subject? And then you just start like, what are my dating stories? What are my this stories? It's easy to recall it.
Okay,
It is
so
easy
since
to
we
recall it.
come from a news background, I'm gonna recycle this. You are a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles
That's
and
right.
they won the Super Bowl. The NFL, they're trying to ban the tush push that they're known for. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, it failed. They didn't ban it. Again, they tried for another time to try to ban it. But I looked at the votes of all the people. Everybody that we play next season voted to ban it, except for one team, except for Detroit. But people are just sore losers. Look, here's the thing. Like, you can't ban a play just because you're not good at defending it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't defend a slam dunk really either, and you can't ban it. So either figure out how to defend it or learn how to do it yourself and just cancel it out. But don't be a punk.
Yeah.
You look really dumb, and we're gonna keep doing it. And yeah,
Do you go
winning.
to Philadelphia often to see their games?
About twice a season, I go to
Okay.
I go to a game. Hmm.
So this summer, I might go to Philadelphia for the first time. Do you remember your first joke ever, whether that was in professional stand-up or maybe just a joke that you told someone and then you're like, they laughed, I'm funny.
One of my very first jokes, if it wasn't my first joke, it was definitely like within the first couple months. And it was a joke. I think I did it the first time I did Last Comic Standing, but the joke was like, I hope comedy goes well because I can't wait. I can't really remember exactly all the little beats, but it was like, I'm really looking forward to like getting rich and I don't know, buying fancy whatever and marrying a white lady. And it was like that was like the joke. And I thought that that was the funniest joke. It was something like that. Like that's what people do when they get rich. And I was like, "Oh my God, I am such a comedian. I am hilarious." And it was not hilarious.
I sometimes like laugh at my own jokes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm hilarious.
That's the thing about starting comedy. It was like, people were like, "What was your first experience like?" And it's like, "Oh, how'd it go?" And I'm like, "Oh, it went terribly. Like I wasn't funny. Like nobody's funny the first time they do comedy, or if they are, they get excited, and then the next time they do it, they're not.
Mhm.
And they're like, "What happened?" But it's not about whether or not you were funny to the audience. It's more about how it felt to you, and the rush that I got when I did it. And I was like, "Oh, I want to keep doing that." You know what I mean? And so it was fun, and I kind of didn't care that everybody else. I mean, it was at a sushi bar in DC on DuPont Circle. The people didn't come for comedy, they came for sushi, and someone put a microphone in the dining room, and so it was not conducive, but I still was like, "Oh my God, I want to do this every night." So
I don't
yeah.
know if this is like with practice, but sometimes like if I'm just telling a funny story, not necessarily like a joke, but like I keep laughing that I can't finish.
Right. No, so many comedians, I definitely still sometimes laugh at my own jokes. I mean, I can get through it, but yeah, no, and you're like, "Wait, it's gonna be so good."
Right? Yeah,
Wait till I get it.
you're like breathing, like okay, coming down, coming, and then it
You're
just
like, "No,
like
it's gonna be worth it. Just stick it out." No, I know
right
exactly.
5 minutes later. Well, you mentioned about Last Comet Standing. We've seen you on there, also on late night television, Conan O'Brien, Seth Meyers, and of course Tiffany Haddish. Now, working with these veteran comedians, did each of them ever give you advice? Because I'm sure it's also different.
Oh, yeah. Not in terms of advice, but just more of like validation, like when you see it, like I've done stand up on, like you said, Conan and Seth Meyers. Tiffany helped me do a Netflix special. I've been on the Ellen DeGeneres show. So it's more like um people you admire seeing what you do and saying, "Hey, I want to platform that." That is more like encouraging, right? Because comedy's not always easy. You're not always making money, but it's like, "Oh, but Ellen knows who I am." You know what I mean? So I'm broke, but still, like one of my favorites knows who I am. So it was more like that. It kind of keeps you going. And of course, the exposure of late night television. I did Ellen very early in my career. And, Tiffany gave me a special during the pandemic. Like we shot it in 2020, like in October 2020. So it was like a crazy experience. But, she trusted us. So more than advice at this point in my career, it's just like opportunity.
Absolutely. I just watched that stand up that you did on Netflix, and
Mhm.
Tiffany asked you a question saying like what struggles had you endured like being a female comic, and I'm wondering because you said you have to be your own kind of woman and not be taken advantage of. Now, advantage meaning like you're a female, they don't take you seriously, so they don't give you enough time in the slot, or like what was the downside?
Well, a lot of times, like in any other field that's not woman dominated, you know what I mean? Like, which is most of them. Like a lot of these clubs, you'll go there and they'll have like, 52 weeks to fill, and they'll have, 48 weeks of male headliners, and so women don't get the opportunity. We get paid less. We get, "Hey, do you want to work? This is the money." When you know what other people who have comparable credits and skills are getting. So it's that, but it's also a kind of like where you're alone a lot. You're just on the road alone in a city where you don't know anybody. And so, I mean, there are lots of ways to be taken advantage of, you know what I mean, in the entertainment business. And, just being not compromising and being someone who like takes up space, right? Like you have to be able to command a stage. And that's not always like, you get a room full of people to kind of pay attention to you like right away. That's not always a thing that people like when women do it, so but you have to be willing to just kind of live in that and be comfortable doing that. So that's kind of what I meant. You have to be a special kind of lady to kind of want to live a life like that. It's very solitary at some point, maybe not the whole career.
Are female comics more heckled during their set?
No, I think that just depends comic to comic what the material is. I don't want to say this because I feel like I'm going to jinx myself, but I don't get heckled too much at all. I don't get that energy from people. Thank goodness,
Hmm.
very often. But I think some people think they can heckle women comedian more, and I'm like, dude, every woman comedian is ready for it.
Yeah.
So more so than, sometimes certain male comedians, because it's like we are expecting it. We have our backs up because, you gotta be tough. I'm like, try it. You could try it, but yeah.
Well, I'll definitely be there. I mean, I've been to the
Good.
punchline before. The times I've gone, I've noticed some heckling, but if you know how to improvise and like clap back at them.
Yeah.
And Conan O'Brien, he has his own podcast. Conan Needs a Friend. You need to be on the podcast.
I would love that. I gotta do a little bit more before he remembers me to put me on the podcast.
I'm gonna start tagging Conan.
I'll be open to people running a campaign for me to get on there. But he's been great to me. Even if indirectly, I did a spot on his show, and then I did that Gregory joke on his show. That was the first time it ever aired on television. And then I wrote a television show based on it, and his production company was producing the show. We sold it to HBO, like it was a whole thing. So, Conan's people got behind me. He was always he was very encouraging. Actually, he was, complimentary. And he's such a brilliant writer, which is why comics love doing his show, because he has that, that pedigree of being a fantastic comedy writer. So yeah, I mean, if I get a couple more credits, maybe they'll have me on. I love that podcast.
I was just watching, he's like a travel documentary on HBO Max,
Yeah.
and I watched one episode. It was absolutely hilarious. Now, behind me, I don't think you could see it, but I have like this like portrait that says music heals the soul.
Okay.
How have you found comedy to be healing?
Oh man, finding commonality, right? Like, I mean, that's definitely healing. It's almost like, I mean, people I think maybe overdo it, but in terms of like talking about things that you're feeling and challenges that you've had, and then you find a way to make it funny, but in a way, it feels like therapy that y'all are paying for instead of me paying for it. I'm not really getting the feedback is laughter instead and not guidance, but it does feel nice when you're saying something that happened to you, if it was like, tough, and then other people come up and they say, oh my God, that happened to me too, or thanks so much, or even providing that for other people who may be having a hard time, and then they go, oh, I just needed to come out and laugh, or this really resonated with me and my mom or whatever. Especially in New York City, we have really late shows, right? Sometimes, I might not get on stage till 1:50 in the morning, But we always joke, like, I would not come see comedy this late. Like, who are these people? Why are they here? I'm here because I'm getting paid. Like, why are they here? But I think during COVID, when there wasn't comedy and stuff like that, and people were so hungry for it, like we were doing shows on Zoom, right? Where, we couldn't hear laughter or anything like that. But people wanted comedy so bad, they were willing to come to a daggone like Zoom meeting to laugh. And people were just, and the minute clubs open, people were coming back. Right? Because it wasn't at capacity, but there were like as many people that could fit, they were coming. And it showed you how much people really thirsted for it. Like how many people really needed comedy, how many people really enjoy it, how many people missed it. And it really showed me like how valuable what we do is, to other people. So that was kind of eye-opening. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same for concerts too. Like once like
Sure.
the venues open up, everyone's like, I want to go see a show. I want to get out of the house.
Yeah.
I was here for months. So what would be your comedy Mount Rushmore?
Oh my goodness. Somebody asked me this yesterday. I love Whoopi Goldberg. I think she's brilliant. I mean, Mount Rushmore. There's just so many people I love.
Mhm.
I mean, I love Wanda Sykes. I love Ellen. I grew up loving Bill Cosby's comedy. I
Mhm.
can't unlove it despite
Right.
what happened. I don't think he deserves to be chiseled on Mount Rushmore though. But what he does had a huge impact, and more so just because it really came from his life. It really, just felt conversational. So I really enjoyed that. But I mean, I love so many comics. There are so many contemporaries of mine that I'm a big fan of. Gosh, I love Tig Notaro. She makes me laugh so hard. John Mulaney makes me laugh so hard. Chris Rock makes me laugh so hard. So I don't know. I have way more than Mount Rushmore, I think.
Right.
Who are comedians that you like?
I like that little spin. I will say, of course, Tiffany Haddish, Joy Coy. I've seen him. Gabriel Iglesias. Also, Jeff Dunham with his like ventriloquism.
Yeah, I know Jeff.
Yes. And then some other comics that Tiffany has introduced on, They Ready. It was one of the cousins to the Wayans.
Yeah, Shantae Wayans.
Yes, yeah, she's excellent. I need to see. I just recently saw the Punchline Jay Moore. Oh, I also interviewed Lonnie Love. She's a good one too. Yeah.
That's great.
I need to be more exposed to like more comedians. And
Yeah.
what's cool, what I've noticed at the two comedy clubs in San Francisco, Punchline, Cobb's Comedy Club, they always have like a local like opening. And then like the middle act will be someone a little bit more known, and of course like the headliner. Now, interesting enough, I've seen Mark Anthony, so J-Lo's ex husband.
Yeah.
And his opening act is a comedian. He's a musician. So that's like, oh, that's
Right.
odd. But he always has a comedian opening for him before he comes on. So if you could open for any musical artist, who would it be?
Stevie Wonder. But if I could tour with somebody and be there every night, oh my God, Stevie every time.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. You know how like going back to music, you know how like musicians they have an encore, like they leave the stage and then they come back. Do
Yeah.
you think it should be that way for comedy for comedians?
No.
You're like, I'm done.
Yeah. Good night. Like
Bye,
that's
Felicia.
it. That's it. Yeah, no. I'm done now. Thank you. You've been
Right? Thank you
great.
for your time. I gave you my hour.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
So another thing I want to talk about. Okay, so you've been a writer on sitcoms like The Upshaws, Life, and Beth. So do you have any other future projects that we should be aware of?
Not anything right now to speak of. I'm basically looking for people to start making stuff in Hollywood again so that I can get a job. But I'm working on my own things in the meantime. But no, I hope to get something soon. So, but right now I'm just getting back out there and doing a little bit of stand up on the road. I haven't done that in a while.
All right, excellent. Well, Erin, thank you so much for
Yes.
taking the time to speak with me.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.